In the previous chapter, Alfoy is challenged by the West's greatest sword, Tenant, but Lucas steps in to accept the duel instead. Meanwhile, Ghislain enters the mysterious realm to rescue Rosalind, only to discover that mana is completely sealed. After defeating several monstrous enemies, he uncovers the truth behind the growing rift and realizes that the Salvation Church is the force responsible for triggering the Age of Calamity. Lucas launched a swift attack with his weapon, hoping to overwhelm Tenant with his speed. However, Tenant calmly intercepted the strike with his sword, effortlessly stopping the attack. Before Lucas could react, Tenant shifted his blade and held its tip directly against Lucas's throat, leaving him completely stunned. Tenant admitted that Lucas possessed impressive speed, but his swordsmanship was still crude, rough, and lacking refinement. After carefully observing Lucas's fighting style for a few moments, Tenant concluded that he had seen everything he needed to judge his skill. Without showing any hesitation, Tenant suddenly drove his sword toward Lucas's throat, as if he intended to finish him on the spot. The unexpected move left Alfoy and the other knights frozen in shock, while Lucas himself believed his life was about to end. Just before the blade could pierce his neck, Tenant stopped at the last possible moment. The sword remained inches from Lucas's throat, making it clear that Tenant had deliberately spared him. Realizing he was still alive, Lucas was left completely speechless and unable to understand why he had been shown mercy. Tenant then explained that Lucas did not wield the sword of a true knight. His technique revealed the instincts of someone who had learned to survive countless battles, rather than someone who had been trained with proper knightly discipline. After making that observation, Tenant recalled that Lucas had previously mentioned Count Fenris being in the capital, and his attention immediately shifted to that important detail. Lucas calmly confirmed that Count Fenris was indeed in the capital. That answer only made Tenant even more interested. Seeing the level of skill Lucas possessed, Tenant found himself increasingly curious about the man who had earned such unwavering loyalty. The idea that someone like Ghislain commanded a swordsman of Lucas's caliber convinced Tenant that Count Fenris was far from an ordinary noble. As Tenant's curiosity lingered, the story smoothly shifted to another battlefield, where Ghislain stood face to face with the mysterious priest. Ghislain fixed the priest with a cold, intimidating glare, before revealing that he already knew the truth. He identified them as the ones responsible for the Age of Calamity, and exposed their role in assisting the ducal house during the attempt to destroy Ferdium. After connecting all the pieces together, Ghislain confirmed that the organization behind everything was none other than the Salvation Church. Rosalind was left completely stunned after hearing the name of the secret organization. However, the priest was equally shocked by Ghislain's knowledge. Even the kingdom's intelligence organization had never discovered the existence of the Salvation Church. Yet Ghislain not only knew about it, but even recognized its name. The priest couldn't understand where Ghislain had learned such closely guarded information. Ghislain immediately realized that the priest had made no attempt to deny the accusation, which was all the confirmation he needed. He then recalled the priest's earlier statement that simply luring him there had already accomplished their objective. But in Ghislain's eyes, the priest had made a fatal mistake. By exposing the Salvation Church's connection with Duke Delphine, they had unknowingly confirmed the truth Ghislain had been searching for all along. Without wasting another second, Ghislain charged straight at the priest and launched a fierce attack. The priest barely avoided the opening strike, but Ghislain gave him no time to recover. He continued pressing forward with one relentless attack after another, forcing the priest to constantly block and dodge while remaining completely on the defensive. As the clash intensified, the priest suddenly reached for an obsolete weapon hidden on his body. Without hesitation, he fired a shot at Ghislain. Although Ghislain reacted in time and avoided a direct hit, the bullet ripped through his cloak, proving that the weapon was still deadly despite its age. The sight of the strange weapon only made Ghislain even angrier. His expression turned cold as he unleashed a powerful slash with enough force to cut down his opponent in a single blow. However, the priest quickly retreated and narrowly escaped the devastating strike. Ghislain immediately recognized the weapon as an obsolete firearm, even though it had long disappeared from the battlefield. He admitted that choosing such a weapon was an unexpectedly refined decision. The priest calmly reloaded the firearm while wearing a confident smirk, showing no sign of panic despite Ghislain's overwhelming pressure. He explained that it was a portable firearm powered by gunpowder, capable of firing bullets without relying on mana. Since magic had replaced such weapons long ago, they had faded into history. However, in a place where mana could not be used, this forgotten weapon became incredibly effective. As soon as the weapon was reloaded, the priest fired another shot toward Ghislain. Ghislain effortlessly dodged the incoming bullet and instantly closed the distance with an incredibly fast slash. Even so, the priest reacted just in time and slipped away from the attack before the blade could reach him. Refusing to let his opponent escape, Ghislain launched an endless barrage of strikes. His sword came crashing down from above, swept upward from below, and cut across from both sides in rapid succession. Every attack flowed seamlessly into the next, leaving almost no opening between them. Despite the overwhelming speed and relentless pressure, the priest continued evading each strike with precise footwork and perfect timing, managing to survive Ghislain's relentless offensive without suffering a single hit. The priest quickly raised his obsolete firearm once again and fired another shot at Ghislain, hoping to catch him off guard. However, Ghislain reacted instantly, effortlessly dodging the incoming bullet before closing the distance. In the blink of an eye, he unleashed a powerful strike aimed directly at the priest's head. As the priest instinctively raised his hand to defend himself, Ghislain's sword pierced straight through his hand, forcing him to release his weapon. The slash also carved a deep cut across the priest's cheek, leaving blood running down his face. For the first time since the battle began, genuine fear appeared in the priest's eyes. At that moment, he finally realized that Ghislain had been using the stalactites surrounding them as part of his strategy, carefully controlling the battlefield from the very beginning. After the brutal exchange, both fighters stepped back and created some distance. The priest immediately understood that defeating Ghislain through a normal duel was impossible. Realizing he could not stop him with conventional methods, he abandoned his original plan. Although he had wanted to settle the fight honorably, he reluctantly chose to rely on another method and summoned the holy warriors. Without showing the slightest hesitation or fear of death, the holy warriors charged directly toward Ghislain. The priest confidently ordered them to fulfill the duty for which they had been created. Obeying his command without question, the warriors surrounded Ghislain and launched a relentless assault. Their attacks shook the entire battlefield, destroying everything in their path and filling the area with dust, debris, and smoke. Watching the devastating explosion unfold, Rosalind's heart sank as she feared the worst for Ghislain. From her perspective, surviving such an overwhelming assault seemed impossible. However, as the thick cloud of smoke gradually disappeared, a lone figure slowly emerged from the destruction. Ghislain stepped forward completely unharmed, without a single visible injury, proving that the holy warriors had failed to stop him. Looking at the priest with complete disgust, Ghislain exposed the truth behind the so-called holy warriors. He revealed that they were nothing more than human beings used as experimental subjects, making the title of holy warriors nothing but a lie. The moment the priest sensed the immense aura radiating from Ghislain, his confidence completely disappeared. He was overwhelmed with shock, because using mana inside this place should have been impossible. Yet Ghislain stood before him overflowing with power, as though the restriction meant nothing. Ghislain calmly revealed the secret behind it. Instead of resisting the dimensional rift, he was simply releasing mana faster than the rift could absorb it, allowing him to maintain his strength despite the environment. The priest let out a cold laugh and warned that such a method would only accelerate the growth of the dimensional rift. The more mana Ghislain released, the faster the rift would expand, eventually consuming everything around them. Ghislain already understood that risk better than anyone else. Even so, he remained completely unfazed, deciding that the battle would end long before the rift could become a real problem. Without giving the priest another chance to think, Ghislain suddenly burst forward with explosive speed. The priest desperately reached for his obsolete firearm and attempted to fire one final shot. Before he could pull the trigger, Ghislain violently knocked him off balance. In the same motion, Ghislain seized the firearm and drove it deep into the priest's abdomen with overwhelming force. Blood instantly poured from the priest's mouth as the devastating blow left him critically wounded. As unbearable pain spread through his body, the priest's thoughts drifted back to the intelligence reports provided by the ducal house regarding Count Ghislain. Until now, he had believed those reports were accurate, but standing before the real Ghislain made him realize they had completely underestimated his true strength. Ghislain's power was not merely on the same level as theirs. It had already reached a level frighteningly close to the strength possessed by the Salvation Church itself. Even after landing the decisive blow, Ghislain never took his eyes off the priest. He continued staring at him with an icy, murderous glare that made it painfully clear the battle had already been decided, and the priest had no chance of escaping his fate.